You've launched your podcast, so I'm sending you a huge congratulations. But here's the big question. What happens now? How do you grow your audience and actually start making money from your podcast? If you're asking these questions, you're in the right place, because today I'm sharing my top growth and monetization tips to help you grow your podcast. Hi, I'm Chapman, and I help entrepreneurs launch and grow podcasts that captivate their audience and build their business. And today we're going to chat about growth and monetization tips. But before we get started, I've created a free guide called Master Your Podcast Analytics. It's packed with simple steps to track your podcast performance, and then you can use that data to grow your audience. You can grab that using the link in the description below. Okay, let's dig into some growth tips. One of the easiest ways to grow your podcast after launch is to tap into the audience you already have. So promote your episodes on your social media platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. But don't just post links. You have to create engaging content that makes people curious and want to go listen to your episode. So for example, you could share a short audio clip, a behind the scenes video of you recording the episode. And then if you have an email list, include your latest episode in your newsletter with a quick description of why they'll love it. What you could do is, if you have an episode that's, say, 5 tips about X, Y, and Z, you can share 2 of the main talking points in your email and then direct them to the podcast to hear the rest of what you're talking about, so they get some value in your email. But then if they want all of it, they need to listen to your episode. Word of mouth is still one of the most powerful marketing tools, so don't be afraid to ask your listeners for help. And at the end of each episode, encourage them to share the podcast with whoever they think would benefit from the content. You can make this even easier by creating shareable assets like quote graphics or sound bites, also known as audiograms, and providing links that they can forward to potential listeners. When listeners feel like they're part of the community, they'll want to spread the word to help you grow your podcast. This next one's a big one, and one I encourage all of my clients to embrace: maximizing SEO for podcast discoverability. I'm sure you know, but SEO means search engine optimization. And while that sounds technical, it's definitely simpler than you think. Just use clear descriptive titles for your episodes that include keywords that your audience is searching for. So, for example, sometimes I'll see a title that's very vague, like episode 5, but that's not good for searchability or any of the things. So go for something like 5 tips to build confidence in your business. And then confidence in your business is likely a keyword phrase that somebody might be searching for. Also, here's where I find people lack are with their show notes. Write detailed show notes and descriptions for each of your episodes that highlight the key takeaways and any resources you mention. The more optimized your podcast is, the easier it will be for new listeners to find you. So one of the best ways to grow your audience is by guesting on other podcasts in your niche. This gives you a chance to share your expertise and then invite a whole new audience to check out your show. So start by pitching yourself to podcasters whose audience aligns with your target listeners. You don't want to really do it with somebody who's in competition with you, because then they're not going to have you on your show. In your pitch, mention how your expertise or story can provide value to their audience, because that's one of the biggest things when somebody is bringing you onto their podcast is they want to know you're bringing lots and lots of value, and you're not just going to be like selling your services for the entire show. And then when you're a guest, make sure to mention your podcast and why their listeners would enjoy it. And then converting somebody who is already listening to a podcast into listening to your podcast is much easier because they're already a podcast listener. Another powerful growth strategy is to engage directly with your audience. So respond to their comments on social media, answer their questions in your episodes, or give shout out to those that leave reviews. You can also use Instagram stories or polls to ask what topics they'd like to hear about next. When your audience feels heard and valued, they're more likely to stick around and recommend your podcast to others. So treat your podcast like a dialogue and not a monologue. If you have the budget for it, consider experimenting with paid promotions. Running ads on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, other podcasts, or in podcast player apps can help you reach a much wider audience quickly. The key here is to target your ads towards people who would genuinely benefit from your content. So start small, test different strategies, and see what works best for your audience. Now let's talk monetization tips. The first and most effective way, and my favorite way for my clients to monetize their podcast, is to directly integrate it into their existing business. Use your episodes to showcase your expertise, drive traffic to your offers. For example, if you're a coach or consultant, talk about the challenges you help your clients overcome and then invite listeners to book a free discovery call. Or if you have a course or membership, weave it naturally into your content. So for example, let's say you have a social media podcast, you can have your listeners sign up for an Instagram audit. A clear and consistent call to action, like grab my free resource in the description or join my program to dive deeper into this topic, can turn listeners into clients. Affiliate marketing is another great way to monetize your podcast, especially if you're just starting out. So partner with brands or tools that align with your audience interests and promote their products in your episodes. For instance, if you're running a business podcast, you could talk about tools like scheduling apps or CRMs that you generally use and love. I have a client, Haley, who does this really well. She's the host of the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast, and she includes all her favorite wine gadgets in her episodes as an affiliate link. So be sure to include your affiliate links in the show notes and then mention any discounts your audience might get by using your code. The key, obviously, is to only promote products you truly believe in. It builds trust and keeps your recommendations authentic when you're only sharing about products that you truly love. Sponsorships are a classic way to monetize a podcast, but you don't need thousands of listeners to get started. If your audience is engaged and fits a specific niche, small businesses or local brands may be interested in sponsoring your episodes. So you can start by reaching out to brands that align with your podcast theme and audience. So for example, if you host a wellness podcast, a local gym or health food company could be a great fit. You can offer them simple sponsorship packages like a short ad read or a shout out at the beginning of your show. Another monetization option is to offer exclusive content or memberships. So there's platforms like Patreon, Hello Audio, Buy Me a Coffee, which allows you to give your most loyal listeners something extra in exchange for a subscription. So this could be bonus episodes, behind the scene content, live Q&A sessions, or even early access to your regular episodes. The idea is to give your superfans a way to support you while still receiving unique value in return. Your podcast can also be a great platform for promoting your own digital products, of course. So things like ebooks, templates, workbooks, or online courses that help your audience solve a specific problem. So for example, if your podcast is about productivity, you could sell a time management planner or a course on organizing your workflow. So mention your product naturally in your episodes and then explain how it ties into the topic you're discussing, and then make it easy for your listeners to find and purchase by including the links in your show notes. Collaborating with other creators can be a huge win-win for both growth and monetization. You could co-host a special series of episodes with a fellow podcaster or create a joint product like a course or webinar. Cross-promoting to each other's audiences not only expands your reach, but also opens up new revenue opportunities. Partnerships can be incredibly valuable, so don't be afraid to reach out to others in your niche. And then finally, keep in mind that monetization is often a long game. Your podcast is a platform that builds trust and authority over time, which can lead to bigger opportunities like speaking engagements, collaborations, and then even larger sponsorships down the road. So the more consistent and valuable your content is, the more likely you are to attract those monetization opportunities that will align with your business goals. The key to successful podcast monetization is making sure you align your strategies with your audience's needs and your business goals. And you don't need to try everything at once. Just start with one or two methods that feels the most natural and build from there. Now that you have a clear idea of how to grow your podcast and start monetizing it, let's talk about what it takes to sustain that success over the long term. So podcasting isn't just about the launch or the first few episodes. It's about building a show that stays consistent, engaging, and aligned with your goals. So here are my top pro tips for creating a podcast that not only lasts, but thrives. So are you sick of hearing about consistency? If I'm being honest, I am too. But one of the most important things you can do to ensure the long-term success of your podcast is to stay consistent. So choose a release schedule that works for you. That could be weekly, bi-weekly, and stick to it. Consistency helps your audience know when to expect new episodes, and it builds trust over time. If you find it challenging to keep up, try planning ahead and recording multiple episodes at one time. This way you'll always have content ready even during busy weeks. So speaking of planning, batch recording is a game changer. Dedicate 1 or 2 days each month to record multiple episodes, and then you can focus on editing, promotion, and engaging with your audience the rest of the time. Because planning your episodes ahead of time, including your topics and any guest interviews, will make the process much smoother and less overwhelming, and this will prevent pod fade. Because if you're recording week to week, you're going to burn yourself out. So try to batch record a few episodes at a time. Your audience is your greatest asset, so it's essential to keep them engaged. Encourage them to leave reviews, send you questions, or suggest topics that they like to hear about. You can even invite them to participate in your episodes through listener shoutouts or by sharing their questions during your episode. The more connected your audience feels to you, the more likely they are to stay loyal and then spread the word about your amazing podcast. Now, tracking your podcast performance is essential for growth. Use your analytics to see which episodes resonate most with your audience and then tailor those future content to match what they're already loving. So for example, if a specific topic gets more download or engagement, dive deeper into that topic. If you haven't already, download my free Master Your Analytics guide that's going to help you track the right metrics and then use that data to grow your show. The link is in the description below. Podcasting is a learning journey, so don't be afraid to adapt as you go. You can be open to listener feedback, try new formats, styles, or topics to keep your content fresh and engaging. You could experiment with shorter episodes or longer, changing up your intro, changing your intro music. These are small changes that can make a big difference. And finally, don't forget to celebrate your successes along the way, whether it's hitting your first 1,000 downloads, landing your first guest interview, or just sticking to your release schedule for 6 months. Take time to acknowledge your process because it's huge. Sharing these milestones with your audience is also a great way to build excitement and strengthen your community. Remember, my friend, podcasting is a marathon, not a sprint. By staying consistent, engaging your audience, and continually improving, you'll create a show that not only grows, but becomes a meaningful part of your business. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more podcasting tips, and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an update. And don't forget to download my free Master Your Podcast Analytics guide, which you can find at the description below. And I'll see you in the next video.